Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on the RW. This is your host, Brandon Macy, and I am very excited about the two guests that we have with us today, Angela Parker and Chad Parker. And we did mention Angela first because we know who the real glue is that keeps this whole thing going. Very happy to have you guys on. And Angela is the financial administrator for Royalwood Church, and she does much more than that. Chad Parker is the executive pastor for Royalwood Church, as well as the other 20 hats that he wears. He is a counselor. He is heading up the Center for Apostolic Counseling and doing many, many other things. And we are excited to have them on. We've been very excited to have you guys and very thankful to have you guys here with us at Royalwood for almost 8 years in November, right?
Correct.
So we're really thankful for you guys, and we know that just recently we found out that you guys were going to be moving on, and I promise I will keep the tears to a minimum in this podcast. But I know that if every single person that is a part of Royalwood could thank you guys, they would, because of the role that you've played in their lives. Chad, I know that, or PC as I call you, you have counseled, you have led all of our departments, and just many other things. Angela, I know that you've been very involved with ladies ministry, which is Lace here at the church, and just many, many other things. I mean, I'm thinking about the snacks that we're not going to have in the office. And guys, if you have enjoyed cookies or anything like that at any event, you have balloons, anything festive, you have Angela Parker to thank for that. So
it's always got to be a party.
It's always got to be a party. So I want to personally thank you guys, and we'll get into more of that in this podcast. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how you guys, or let's kind of even go back further than that. I don't think everybody knows what you guys were doing before you came to Royalwood. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, before we came, we were actually at the Children's Mansion, Tupelo Children's Mansion, and had served there for 9 years. So we played lots of roles while we were there. I was a social worker. I was a teacher. We served as house parents. Angela worked in sponsor relations, and then she moved up to the financial department. And then finally, as we ended our tenure there, I was the director of residential services, which kind of was oversight of all the operations in regards to house parents and the kids. And then Angela was actually a comptroller, so she handled the finances.
So tell people a little bit more that do not know what Tupelo Children's Mansion really is.
So it actually originated as what you would think of as a traditional orphanage, 1954, something like that, I believe. So what it's referred to now is a residential group home. Okay. So it's basically for kids that, for whatever reason, have no place to be, whether that's their parents have passed away and maybe they are the traditional orphan, or they may have family, but for whatever reason, they're unable to take care of them.
Right.
Because of financial crisis or other circumstances. A lot of times you'll get kids, whose their grandparents were their primary guardian. Grandparents became too old to take care of them, so they would place them at the mansion. And I think right now they have a lot of children that are dealing with some struggling adoptive placements, and so the kids are there at the moment.
Now, haven't they also had a place before? I'm not sure if they're still doing this or not, for like mothers who had children early and that sort of thing?
So that was New Beginnings, which is separate from TCM.
All right.
So New Beginnings is an adoption agency, and they had a crisis pregnancy center.
Okay.
They are there in Tupelo as well, though.
Okay. Yeah. So they kind of worked a little bit hand in hand.
Yes.
And then you guys actually have adopted kids yourself. Angela,
Right.
You want to speak into that?
Yeah, so we actually always had said that we wanted to consider adoption for our family, but we actually found out after we were married that the doctors told me I probably was never going to be able to have children. And so at that point, we decided, after a bunch of procedures and tests and all of the things, the doctor told me it probably wasn't going to happen. And so we decided to pursue adoption at that point. And we actually adopted Caden first. He's our son, who is 14, about to be 15. And then we actually adopted 2 boys from the mansion that were residents there at the mansion. They are biological brothers, and we adopted them. And then after we moved back to Houston, we had Keely. Was a miracle. She's our only biological child, but God just worked a miracle and allowed us to have her. And then he surprised us with Kate, which was another adoption
Yeah.
in our family. So
Well, and I know you kind of just blew right past that, but an amazing thing for you to be told you're not going to have children.
right,
And then all of a sudden that happened. And I mean, I remember that whole process very well. And you guys were shocked,
yes,
I think, for,
that's the
to say the
understatement.
least.
Yeah,
Because hadn't you guys already been in discussion getting Keely, or no? Or Kate. I mean Kate.
No, so Kate was born. There's 11 months between the girls.
Okay.
So she was born after Keely.
Okay.
But no, we thought our family was complete. Like I was,
Okay.
boy mom. We had the 3 boys. So Keely was definitely a surprise, and then Kate was another huge surprise.
Yeah. That was just an amazing thing, though. And again, we could talk about how all of that happened. I remember a service where I think it was my sister
Yeah, Brittany.
prayed with you.
She did. So she says she felt like the Lord impressed her that she was pregnant with Canaan at the time.
Yeah.
Like very large pregnant with Canaan.
Yeah.
And she came up to me and like bear hugged me. And she said she felt like God told her if she would place her belly against my belly, that God was going to heal me and
Yeah.
give me a baby. And we found out just a few months after that we were expecting.
That's so
So,
awesome.
yep.
And that brings me, I'm trying not to cry now, but because to me, that speaks back to like times in the Bible where Jesus spit in the dirt, and it's like, what in the
Why
world is
that?
going
Yeah.
on? And just, somebody, I'm glad that Brittany did that.
Me
but
too.
but somebody doing something like that had to feel like, oh God, this is going to be so awkward.
It was awkward, yeah.
But I feel like putting my belly on somebody and
Yeah.
telling them that, and then God coming through and doing that miracle
I'm
is
thankful
just
that she obeyed him.
amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. So you guys, have not only helped people do that. I mean, you have been involved in the adoption process and all that yourselves, and that's so commendable. My uncle adopted 4 kids. Started out adopting one from birth, and literally he was weeks old when they got him, and then adopted 2 twin brothers and a sister all at once. And so, in our family, we're very close to the adoptive process, and I remember how all that worked and how there were some issues there with, because I believe they were 5 when he got them. And the tough thing when you're adopting kids is you don't know what their backgrounds were. I mean,
Right.
you research it and you do all these things, but they had to deal with a lot of the issues and challenges that they had faced in their lives. And my hat goes off to anybody that decides to do that. It's a huge undertaking.
It is. But
What-
it's been such a blessing to our family.
So how many altogether is it with adopted and
5. So we have
Okay, 5 altogether.
altogether. 4 are adopted.
and what are their ages? Can you recite that?
29, 27, 14, 5, and 4.
Okay, all right.
That's
So-
incorrect.
Notice
14,
Chad.
6, and 5. I'm sorry. Our girls just had birthdays in April.
Okay,
14, 6, and 5. Yeah.
Notice Chad immediately looking at
Yeah.
Angela going, "This is on you right now." You
This is terrible. Ben and Chris, if y'all are listening, I'm sorry. I can never remember how old our
Yeah.
oldest boys are. I have to stop and think.
Well, and I don't think I've had the chance to meet Ben. I've met Chris, obviously, because he was going to Roywood and
Yeah.
still lives in the Houston
Chris
area.
lives here in Houston.
Yeah.
Ben and his wife and his family. So we actually have 3 grandchildren now too.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
Chris has a daughter, and then Ben has 2 sons. Ben and his wife Tamara. They actually are in Tupelo. So with us going
That'll
back,
be great.
we're going to be close to them. So we're very excited about that.
So, Chris, if you're listening to this, it looks like you're
Pack
going to
your
have
bags,
to move.
Chris.
And I'm not sure if they asked you for permission to move back to Tupelo, but
They didn't. We're just waiting on him to join us there.
so, for those of you, again, that do not know, you guys are now literally full cycle going back to Tupelo, obviously in a completely different position, but it's vice president of, what is it, the great potentate, something. I'm not, what is it? It's vice president?
The official title is executive vice president, and then
Okay.
Angela will be the executive assistant.
Okay. So you're going to be assisting the vice president.
I don't know.
The executive director.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
executive vice president. You got to get that in there.
Yeah, I'll be assisting Sister Judd, who is the executive director.
So, I mean, again, huge loss for us. It's, when we found out about it, the staff found out on a Saturday. It was told to the church on that Sunday. And, it's hard to wrap your mind around that. You feel excited for you guys' future, because I know that this is a huge promotion for you guys. Within the organization of the UPC, United Pentecostal Church, that's one of the highest positions that you can have. I mean, you're going to be working with people who are over districts. You're going to be working with the general superintendent. I mean, you're like way up there, So I know that is a huge thing. And I know that a lot of things that you guys have done here have probably prepared you guys for this. I think Pastor said this, but it's good to know that at Royalwood, we have people that are wanted elsewhere. The bad thing is for us is that we're losing, 2 of the greatest people that I've had the opportunity to ever meet. And if you've ever received a message from Chad, it's always going to be very timely. It's always going to be exactly what you need to hear. And, again, I can't even look at you guys now while I'm saying this, but Chad, you've written me some of the most timely things I've ever received. And honestly, some of the nicest things. Like, I had to go back and check and be like, did this come from Chad? Or is this Jesus? Who is this from? And, you recently grabbed me one morning and said, hey, I want to talk to you for a second. And, you had said, hey, I had a dream about you, and I'm going to try to not get emotional here, but literally was exactly what I needed, and sat with me and told me some things. And it was like, you didn't even know that I needed that at that moment. And then if you've ever had the chance to be around Angela, you know that she's just got that happy party attitude all the time, and, has just been a huge help in so many ways to the church. And so I want to publicly thank you guys. Again, I know that we're going to have a time that maybe we're even going to get to hug you guys. I don't know, with everything that's gone on with coronavirus.
Stupid COVID.
Right now we're just like crying from afar and like air hugging you guys. But I know there's going to be a time that we'll get to officially tell you bye. So I'm not trying to jump ahead on that. But I just wanted to tell you guys publicly, because I know that, again, if everybody had the opportunity, they would tell you guys, hey, you impacted my life in this way. You did this. And then for me, the tremendous loyalty and just support that you've given my mom and dad as a son. I can't thank you guys enough, because I know that y'all came in a very rough time for Royalwood, a very transitional time at Royalwood, and literally just stepped in and propped up Pastor and my mom, and I appreciate that very much. Let's get all that sad stuff out of the way. My goodness. Let's talk about what is next for you guys. So tell us a little bit about what all you're going to be doing. And I know that you're going to be finding out kind of as you get through this thing, but what all are you guys going to be doing at Tupelo and kind of being involved in there?
Well, I know for my position, and we don't have like our official job descriptions yet, but I'll be working closely with Sister Judd, and she, I'm not sure what the right word is, but kind of serves as a liaison between all the different departments.
Okay.
So the school, residential, sponsor relations. And so I'll be working with her, just assisting with the running of those departments, is my understanding.
Okay.
Which I love, because I kind of get to be involved in a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So,
well, you're gonna do great with that. And again, there are many departments that are involved in all this. Tupelo Children's Mansion, when you say what it actually is and stands for, there's so many things that go into that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got corporate sponsorships and all these many things. And again, that's been one of the things, PC, that you've helped the church with a lot through Serve the City, through CWAP, CPS, that we've been helping out and have been staying here on campus almost every day. You have brought all of that back into Royalwood. So what kind of things are you going to be doing? I know it's going to be a huge responsibility for you.
So my understanding is that I will be helping a lot with some development projects, financial development, fundraising, kind of overseeing some projects that are happening on campus. Really, the administrative side of the functioning of the mansion, as opposed to the day-to-day childcare and operations.
Well, and again, that's what you've been doing here at Royalwood, and that is literally your strength. When all this happened, and I know everybody said this, I was like, how do you replace them? I mean, you just can't do it. And so I think we decided we're not going to. And so I jokingly told Chad, I said, look, when you get to the place where they literally retire your dress shirt and they hang that from the rafters of the church, you have arrived. So we have literally,
his jersey.
Yeah, his number has been retired. And that's not going to be moving forward. But that's really exciting. And I'm sure there's going to be opportunities in the future. Tell people a little bit more about how that works within the organization and stuff. What things will be happening there, or how does the organization kind of feed into that?
So the UPCI has a department called the Office of Education and Endorsement. And within that office, the organization will endorse particular projects or organizations that provide some form of a ministry, but it doesn't necessarily fall under the oversight or purview of the UPCI.
Right.
So Tupelo Children's Mansion is part of the Office of Education and Endorsement, has been an endorsed organization, and I believe it is the first and oldest endorsed organization of the UPCI.
It's the largest too, isn't it? Like the
Probably so. I mean, it's a big operation. So the TCM board is made up of what they call cooperating districts. So these are districts that have agreed to support the mansion in particular ways, which at the moment involves 26 of our 51 districts, however many there are.
Yeah.
And so of the cooperating districts, then their district superintendent and district secretary are a part of the board.
Okay.
And then there are also maybe half a dozen, I can't remember exactly, of what they call at-large board members. So these are people that are just appointed by the overall board to also sit with the board. So.
Well, one of the things that I don't think a lot of people realize is the enormity of the UPCI. I mean, I remember, obviously my dad's been involved in, he's now on the Foreign Missions Board and all these things. And I remember when I had my license, when I would go and be involved in these meetings, and I was in some round tables and all this kind of stuff, and you start hearing the financial things and all the things that the UPC is doing and all the missionaries that are going out, and it is a enormous undertaking.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is kind of the corporate side of the church. You know, we're obviously a part of the UPCI, but you know, the again, the enormity of all that, I don't think people realize how huge that is.
Yeah.
And the undertaking, the mass undertaking that it takes. I mean, I talk about all this, about this all the time with Daniel Bernard, who his dad, David Bernard, is the general superintendent. I'm like, I don't see how your dad does it.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's massive.
traveling all over the world, you know, meeting with all these leaders and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, congratulations to you. You're about to get a taste of all of that on a huge scale. So that's going to be exciting. And I'm sure a lot of challenges coming with that.
Yeah, a lot of what you say there actually applies directly to the mansion as well, because a lot of people haven't been there, right?
Right.
Most people, if they've been around the United Pentecostal Church for any length of time, they've heard of Tupelo Children's Mansion, but they really have no concept of just how large of an operation
They think it's
it
like
actually
one
is.
big building
Yeah.
where all the
Yeah.
kids live. And when you go on the campus and you see the school and the chapel and the the administrative offices and the maintenance department that has to keep the grounds up, it's really an amazing operation that's there.
It's over 20 acres, and was it 40?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember. But a lot of buildings.
A lot of buildings.
So what all is on campus there?
So
Everything.
yeah, so the residence halls or the dorms are there. There's a school with several buildings, and I mean, actually, things have changed since the last time we were there. So
Yeah.
there's administrative offices. There's staff homes. Are there on campus? Quite a few of the staff live on campus. A dining room, dining hall, playground area. There's
Full
a,
church, right?
There's a large athletic field, pavilions. I mean, it's a massive operation.
And you guys are going to be playing a role in the church too, is that right? Or doing something with the church?
Yeah,
or-
so when it comes to the mansion, everything revolves around the mansion. So the school is the mansion, the church is the mansion.
Right.
So it's all part of just one gigantic operation. So any roles that you play at TCM, you play those roles as a whole.
Okay.
So yes, we will be a large portion of what's happening at the church will be involved in.
And how many people are there right now as far as I don't know what you call them, students,
Yeah, residents.
residents.
So I believe as of today they have 101
Okay.
residents, and I believe it was like 47 staff members plus their children.
Right.
So
Well, and you have to obviously, as we've seen with CPS and CWAP, you obviously have to have a lot of staff to be there. And again, when you're talking about cafeterias, you're talking about all this stuff. I mean, that's a huge undertaking.
Just support staff.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. If I know you, and I do, I know that your brain has probably been a whir of things that you want to do, things that you want to be able to help with. And so I know that they're excited about you guys coming. This has been like a 2-year search, basically, right? To get someone.
yeah, I believe that's correct.
And they finally found you. And of course, you were there before. And, I think it was you that said this, or maybe Pastor that said this, that when he had talked to Brother Judd, that he had literally said that you guys are just the perfect fit. I mean, you've got the heart for it and everything. I wanted to talk too about some things that you guys have done here since you've been here. Obviously, you guys have put a lot of work into Royalwood, have done a lot when it comes to growth and all the things that you guys have done. Tell people a little bit about what y'all have done since you've been here, because in the 8 years that you guys have been here, That's a double presidential term, right? um, you guys have done so many things, and you guys could speak to that a lot more than I could. But Chad, you guys came on as student pastors,
Correct.
right? That was in 8 years ago.
Yeah, 2012.
So tell a little bit about that and the things that you guys have done while you've been here.
Yeah, so we were hired in as the student pastors and served in that capacity for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And then the Bernards came in, and we moved into the executive pastor role.
We got replaced by the greatest student pastor
Yes,
and his wife
definitely
of
a
all time.
God thing.
They really are amazing. I
They
tell
are.
people all the time. But yeah, so you guys stepped into that role
Yeah.
kind of right away.
So it was, I guess maybe a year into it, Pastor kind of asked us to also oversee the children's ministry. So we kind of did the dual student children's ministry prior to the Bernard's arrival. And then that's kind of at that point, then it was like, okay, well, we also want you to kind of look into this department. And that's kind of how my role began to morph into what it is today, which kind of turned into just kind of being over all the departments and all the volunteers. So, but, a lot of, I can't really take credit for a whole lot of anything because we've just had such a tremendous team throughout the entire process. I mean, people, it's Houston, so people come and go, jobs move, and people move around. But there has not been a time that I can ever look back and go, man, we were lacking at that moment.
Right.
We've always had solid leadership, solid volunteers, and people who, not only were capable of doing the work, but had the vision and the drive and the motivation to move the kingdom forward
Right.
under Pastor Macy's vision here at Royalwood. So, we have been involved in a tremendous amount of things since we've been here, but I can't look back really on any particular thing and take credit and say, well, we started that or we did that, because we've just always really functioned as a team.
Right.
Even from our staff meetings and the staff, the paid staff here at the church, to, like I said, our department heads and volunteers, everybody we move as a body. It's the
Right.
unity, I think, that really drives the mission home for Royalwood Church.
Well, several things about that. First of all, the Bible says give credit to where credit is due. So if you don't want to take credit, I don't mind shoving it on you.
He's
because
being humble.
yeah, I appreciate you being humble, but we know those that are on staff, those that are, a volunteer or in leadership in some way, know that speaks to, of course, your great leadership and you passing on the things from Pastor, and you've done that in a great way. And the thing that I appreciate, to me, that speaks to great leadership just in general here at the church, is that there's never anybody that singularly tries to take credit for anything. If you were ever able to be a part of staff meeting, you would see that we bring up something, everybody speaks into that. And to me, that is the strength of what we do here, is the fact that everybody's speaking into it. It's a collaborative effort, and it comes through. I think, having ownership of things is great, and all of our leaders here have that ownership, but everybody's speaking into it, and you feel that. It's like when we all pull together, right?
Right.
And obviously a threefold cord is not easily broken, and so there's strength in that number, and you guys have done a great job in leading from the point of saying, hey, let me hear from you, and why don't you tell me your plan for this, and then coming back and maybe saying, that's great, let's do this, what if we add this to it? And then it has made Royalwood where we are now, which is, in the greatest place that we've been in all these years. I mean, I've had the opportunity to be here since age 3. And so we're not going to talk about how old I am now, but it's been many years. And to see Royalwood come from, 50, 60 people into where we are now, and you know, all the daughter works and everything that's gone out of the church has been amazing. Now, I know that not only have you guys played an incredible role here personally, you guys have done a lot of things. Angela, I'm not going to spoil this, but why don't you tell people what you've recently done
Okay.
while you've been doing everything and having cookies with the RW on there and making sure that we're all getting paid.
Yeah.
I'm going to hug you for that
Yeah.
just as soon as this is
the
over.
most important thing is as long as everyone got paid.
Making sure that everybody gets paid is a huge reason
That's why everybody loves me.
that
on
we
staff.
love Angela, and no matter what she does, she can do no wrong
That's
in
right.
our eyes.
No, so I recently completed my bachelor's degree in business, which I was on
That's
the
awesome.
20-year track. And I started college when I was 17, but just life and multiple changes in my major.
Well, adopting all these kids
Adopted
and all,
the
this, yeah.
kids and moving all over. But yeah, I finally finished this spring. So
That
I'm
is
excited.
awesome.
And then I'm going to brag on my husband. So I think one thing that has been cool is while we've been here at Royalwood, we both have continued our education. And so, well, Chad had his master's already, but then he was able to become a licensed professional counselor and get that licensure. And then, you know, like you mentioned this, but basically built a small counseling practice on the side too. So
I don't know how. I mean, again, you know, when you go through all the things that both of you guys have done, and Chad, all the things that you have done from, you know, the Center for Apostolic Counseling and all that stuff. First of all
Teaching.
all the pastors in the area are going to be mad because they've been sending their saints and people in their churches to you so you could counsel them. And, you know, I don't see how you were able to move forward with that, become a professional counselor, all the things that you've done.
we don't like to be bored.
It's amazing. I know. Well, and that's the thing. We said Chad wears many hats. Well, if you know, he's going to continue to do that. He's Mr. Hat Rack. So
That should be your nickname.
I know you've never thought of yourself as a hat rack, but now you will. But again, you guys have done so many things here, and even on a personal level, I don't know how you've juggled all the stuff.
Well, one thing, and he didn't mention this, but one thing that I think that's really cool that Chad has done while he's been at Royalwood that I think is important and will be something that will be able to continue going forward is the relationships that he's built with the community.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think y'all have talked about this before, but with the school being here after Harvey, Sheldon being here, but not just Sheldon. I mean, with the celebration of education and backpack giveaway that we have here at the church, he's been able to build so many relationships in the community, in the state, even with our elected officials. And so I think that's really cool.
It is. It is. And we've had state representatives. We've had
Governor's wife.
the governor's wife was here for that was for the backpack giveaway, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, the backpack giveaway.
I mean, all of that stuff is amazing, and I mean that is another credit to you. And to me, you know, that's what a church should be. A church should be reaching out to the community. A church should be doing things for the homeless through Serve the City.
Serve the City, yeah.
We've had the opportunity to give away meals. During Harvey, we were able to feed people, to have supplies.
The
I mean,
distribution center.
the
yeah.
distribution center, all that stuff you guys have done, and it's just a massive amount of things, and much more than I think people even realize that you guys have done. And I know that Angela, everything that we see you do, that Angela is behind you, beside you, making sure that all of that gets done, and, you know, making sure that everything's done at home. And I know that now you guys have huge tasks ahead of you, not only with your job that you're about to take, but when you're moving somewhere else and you're trying to wrap things up and you're trying to sell a house, and
It's a lot.
it's a lot. I mean, I do not envy you guys for having to do all
Trying
that
to,
stuff.
to wrap up 8 years somewhere and move a large family. It's a lot.
Chad, if you could, I know we're kind of getting close to our time here, but I would like for you to share for other people that are in your position. This is one thing that I've always had a hard time understanding. I think a lot of people in ministry have a hard time being the number two, right? And if you're not watching this, that's air quotes, because there's been so many things that you've led in. But something that just speaks to you, and you've even voiced this and said, I'm not trying to come in here and take over Royalwood. I'm not trying to come in and be the pastor. I mean, you said this, and you lied a little bit because you guys are leaving. But you had said, hey, we're here to support Pastor and his wife until. And I joke. I mean, this is something that we're excited about from the standpoint of this is a God thing. The way this all happened, the way that you guys are just coming full circle, all of that is a God thing. I think everything that's happened here has prepared you guys for what you're about to do. But I would like for you to speak a little bit about playing that role. And again, I see guys all the time that it's like they've got to be a pastor. They've got to figure out how to move forward. They've got to figure out how to move up the kind of ladder, so to speak. And something that I've admired about you is you have said, this is what I feel like God wants me to do, and I've come in and done that without aspiration. And it's not because you're not motivated. That's the thing that's incredible. You are highly motivated. And again, I mean, we've called you the hat rack already. So you've, put on multiple hats. You're constantly trying to pile more stuff on yourself. But how do you do that? And what is the secret to that?
Well, that's a good question. I think maybe for me is I don't look at myself as the second man or the number two necessarily.
Right.
I try to find fulfillment in what I know that God has called me to do.
Right.
So early on, after arriving here at Royalwood, the Lord made it very clear to me that my calling was not specifically to the church body as much as my calling was to the leadership of the church.
Yeah.
That my service was to the Macy's. And so, obviously I guess I could have somehow morphed that into wanting to be something bigger or more.
Right.
But when you can find fulfillment in what God has called you to do, right? And I think the scripture talks about making your calling and your election sure. There was no doubt in my mind that my entire purpose here was to serve the Macy's. And
Right.
I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I was perfectly fine with that. And your dad will tell you, I've told him many times, when he's out, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
Because I was called to them. If they're not here, then I have no role unless God changed that. So, and as we see, he does. But during that entire process, I was very happy serving Pastor and Sister Macy because that's what I was called to do.
Well, a scripture immediately comes to mind that a man's gift will make room for itself. Mm-hmm. And that's obviously what's happened for you. You guys, both of you, have had a gift for doing that. And again, there has been no one that I've known in my lifetime that has been here at the church that I could say has done a better job, has been more loyal. And, I've felt that. I think the church has felt that. And the support that you guys have given is just unprecedented. And I know that, again, I think it's hard or a challenge for some guys to be able to come in and go, I'm going to support here. I'm going to play this. And, I know that sometimes it's difficult for your for our own aspirations to not get in the way. Obviously, leaders are always wanting to be better, to move forward, to grow, to do all these things. But I've always admired the fact that you said, this is what I'm called to do, and I'm going to fulfill that role until God does something else. And then we've seen that happen.
Well, and I don't think you have to seek promotion. I think if you, like Chad said, if you feel fulfilled in what you know God has called you to do, and you do it with excellence, and you give it your best, those promotions and those things come naturally. And we've seen that throughout our lives from where we started in ministry. It's a natural byproduct of serving with all your heart and doing it with everything that you can.
Right.
Excellent.
Well, and you guys are the perfect example of that. And so, again, I want to thank you guys. We're excited to hear about what's going to be happening moving forward. I know that you're going to still be visiting here some. There's going to be some travel probably with your position, going around getting more support from everyone. So I want to thank you guys personally. I know that everybody that's watching this, everybody that's listening to this, you're going to get a chance to tell them goodbye, to tell them how they've impacted your lives. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to come on. Again, I know you are right in the middle of trying to get everything done that you need to get done. For those of you watching and listening, I want to thank you for your support. Make sure that you go in, become a friend on Facebook, Instagram, share, like, leave a comment. If you have something that you'd like for us to talk about, we'll try to fit that in. And make sure that you follow us every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We will be dropping a new podcast. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you soon.